So just to quickly introduce ourselves. Myself, I'm a researcher at Thomas More University of Applied Sciences. I have a background in user research. I have been working most of my career on that, and particularly fond of participatory design research, where I can include the audience of new applications in the development of them or in implementing them, so that it becomes a more smooth process and you're sure that the application will also have a meaningful impact. So that's kind of also my slogan: look at how people are using technology today to learn what the new applications of tomorrow should look like, or how we should implement them better. And I have the honor to do this presentation today together with Markus, and I'll give him the word to introduce himself.
Yeah, hello, my name is Markus Tischner. I'm head of media production at the Learning and Innovation Institute of the Friedrich-Alexander-University of Erlangen in Germany, Erlangen-Nürnberg, to be clear, in Germany. And I'm originally studied geography, but I'm into filmmaking since 2008, and since 2012. Mainly focus in the production of learning media and science communication films, and since 22, I think, into AI, and that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, we'll hit it off, and I'm happy to see that most of you indicated you wanted to learn about new tools. That's going to be a large part of what we will be presenting today, but together also with some of the limitations that we see or have experienced ourselves. So for the first section, we want to start at the beginning, like dive into the fundamentals. What is generative AI, and what can it do? What types of media content can be produced with it? But I want to bounce back the question to you. What do you think about when you hear the word generative AI? And you don't have to put it in the chat. You don't have to say it out loud. We're going to try something. We're going to try and read your mind. And it's the first to do this remotely, so I hope it works. But I feel already some words and images coming through. And I think it's something like this: ChatGPT, Copilot. Am I right? With the latter one, I'm catching some negative vibes here and there. I don't know why, but just have to say what I'm catching on to. But I guess, yeah, some of you may already have other things also in mind when you think about generative AI, and that's no surprise, because the models as they are today and the tools that come with them, they really enable to create various types of content. But still, ChatGPT often comes first to mind because it has been around for a while now and become for many of us part of our daily practice. What's good to point out, and you're probably also very well aware, even though it kind of came as a shock, generative AI with ChatGPT and other equivalents haven't appeared from thin air. It's kind of a part of a series of developments where artificial intelligence has evolved as a field, already starting in the 50s. The common thread, let's say, is that computers, when we are talking about AI, gain the capability of mimicking human intelligence. They process information, make decisions on that information sometimes. They also are able to take action. And it started with machine learning, enabling machines to learn from data, then becoming more complex, allowing machines to infer complex patterns from data using what we call neural networks, kind of mimicking the workings of the human brain to some extent, and then arriving at the foundation models for generative AI that build on deep learning, but they are trained on such extensive data sets that they now become capable of various tasks, not only dedicated purposes such as was the case for deep learning before. And so that includes text generation, but also other kinds. And even though it can sometimes feel quite convincing when we engage with a text generator, in essence, Gen AI has learned to replicate patterns, and it kind of mimics intelligence rather than having a full understanding. But compared to a parrot, it's much more convincing, and it is capable of replicating much more than text and speech today. These generative AI models, they can create images, as you have with Midjourney, videos like with Runway, audio such as with Suno AI, you name it, code, 3D, even artificial data sets, it can all be generated, or at least to some degree, you see that there's experiments going on with this. And so would like to ask you to get a bit of a feel as audience members, what type of content have you generated with AI before? I see answers coming in quickly. Majority going for text. And again, it's not such a big surprise. That was kind of our first major encounter with generative AI. And you also see as we go further from images to video that it also becomes more experimental. The models that are out there, they work, but they're still very much a work in progress. Okay. So moving on, I just Markus and I wanted to share some examples of current models that are in place. And you may have already seen examples of Runway, which has over time evolved from video to video generation, where videos could be edited in to have a completely different look and feel, to text to video, where you could give an instruction and then generate a video. And now they've recently come up with this.
Am I looking?
What? You're gonna fire me because there's hot milk everywhere on the floor of the coffee shop? I mean, it's one latte. It's not that big of a deal.
Everything's fine. Everything's totally great. This is gonna be the best day ever.
Smashed my phone the other night.
And you know how much I love that phone.
Okay, all right. Just breathe. Okay, maybe you don't breathe that hard.
So, if you're not sure what you're
Who
seeing,
knew there were so many kinds of beans to choose from?
kind of
Olive,
uses
black,
the original
kidney,
recorded
butter,
video
white
to
beans.
animate motion characters, which makes the whole process much easier. Okay, I guess it gives you an idea.
I'm beginning to think that you don't understand.
In addition to video generation, what you see more and more are also platforms that allow you to create 3D models from text, such as this one, Meshy AI. It's a web platform, and it can use both text or 2D, two-dimensional graphics, to go to a 3D model. So you can create and texture 3D assets through the platform in various formats. Also, a quite recent one, you may have heard or even used GitHub Copilot in the past, which assists you in the coding process. Now, GitHub have launched GitHub Spark, which allows you without any coding experience to create so-called mini or micro applications. So you can use it to create your own small app and then tweak the interface. I'll show you. Yeah, a lot of these app videos come with kind of high tempo music. You have to look a bit through the marketing. See if I can pause it. But what it showed you was that through prompting, you can create, for instance, this small educational app, a flashcard app, and then also tweak the interface and also make it that way that it's AI driven in itself, so that some features in the app will be assisted through AI. It's still in beta, but I certainly want to check it out, and I encourage you to do the same. I think it's an interesting example. The next one, we'll do a little breakout to Markus, who'll show you something, how you can dub in 11 Labs.
So I share the screen. No. So you see the 11 Labs user interface? Yes. This is an online service. 11 Labs is an online service where you can produce text-to-speech. That means you put in text and then artificial voice comes out, or you can change your voice, or you can clone your own voice, or you can dub your video. What Lizzy was telling about. And here we dubbed video. That means there is a person sitting there talking English, and now I want to have it talking in German or in another language. Today, normally you would place subtitles, but sometimes it's a little bit annoying to have to read subtitles when there's too much in the frame. And so the use case is not to read subtitles in your own language, but to hear it natively. And here you can upload videos. This is one example we did. We loaded a video up of a science film about a soil science project, and then you get on the left side the English original text, and then automatically 11 Labs translate it into German in this case. And the interesting thing is that the translation is made in this way, in a way that it's almost lip synced. Yeah? Normally you have a problem translating English texts into German because the German text normally is longer. And here 11 Labs comes and translate it in a way that it's good to see. Let's see how this looks. Here we have an original film of this person sitting here. I started and show you.
Respiratory process, like we humans do when breathing oxygen.
Almost all soils on Earth contain iron, usually about 1 to 5 weight%. And if salts are in contact with air, iron gets oxidized and it forms iron oxide minerals. These are usually yellowish brown to orange in color, and we can easily see them in the salt profile by this color.
So this is the original. Then we put this film into 11 labs, push the button, now please in German, and out came this. This is now not the whole edited film with music and so on and so on. For the translation, 11 Labs puts out the music and so, and only grabs the language, the talk, and let's see how it sounds. Look at the lips, how lip-synced it is.
Fast alle Böden und Sedimente auf der Erde enthalten Eisen, normalerweise etwa 1 bis 5 Gewichtsprozent. Und wenn der Boden mit Luft in Kontakt kommt, oxidiert Eisen und bildet Eisenoxidmineralien. Diese Mineralien haben in der Regel eine gelblich-braune bis orangefarbene Färbung und man kann dies leicht im Bodenprofil erkennen.
So I think it's very good. It's from the timing very good, and the voice is also almost the same. Interestingly, he is German, and here we could compare how natural the German language is. We translated it to Portuguese as well, and here the timing isn't as good, and he has a Brazilian accent, yeah, not European Portuguese, but Brazilian. Let's have a very short look.
Por favor, quase todos os solos e sedimentos na Terra contêm ferro, geralmente cerca de 1 a 5% do peso. E se o solo estiver em contato com o ar, o ferro oxida e forma minerais de óxido de ferro.
You see, it's not that perfect, but for translation, fully automatically without any additional work, yeah, it's quite good, I think. And here you have this use case that you don't have to concentrate on the subtitles. Sometimes a bit weird if you hear your own voice in another language, but maybe we get used to that in a few months, years, who knows. Back to Lizzy.
Yep. Thank you, Markus.
Maybe before we go to Lizzy, I see there's one question. How do you rate the quality of the translation? Maybe it would be interesting to
yeah.
now.
Okay. For me, it was already without editing perfect. Let's say it has exactly the tone. It hits the tone already we wanted. Yeah. I didn't find anything to change.
But if you needed to, you could do that in the app itself, right? And then
yes, as I showed you, there in the left on the left side was the original, on the right side the translation, and you can edit every sentence. Can you choose other voices? Now I see it. In this case, in the dubbing, it always takes the original voice, but there's a feature in 11 Labs called Voice Changer. There you could grab the translated voice and put it into the voice changer, and then you can change it into another voice. That's a new feature. Since 4 weeks or so, I don't know. It's very fast in these days.
Thanks, Markus.
All right. Do you see the screen again?
Yeah.
Okay. Then maybe to conclude this first section, what you see in the AI models that are out there, there's this evolution that they become capable of accepting more types of input and also delivering more types of input. Here, this felt like an appropriate example, the example by OpenAI, GPT-4 Omni. Kind of, you can engage in a conversation by speaking, and it looks at what you are doing as you go along, which of course also opens up possibilities for educational content. as you can see in the example here, by a co-founder of the Khan Academy and his son.
OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started. It's loading up. All right, make sure it can see our screen.
Actually, in this format,
hello there. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really,
Remember the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha.
So you see, it's not completely smooth, the conversation yet. You have some hiccups there where it kind of breaks through, but then again, it does show you how competent these models are getting, that they can enter the conversation together with you. And yeah, the thing is, it's no matter how you look at it, you might feel a little bit ambiguous about these models and the impact that they are having, that they're becoming part of our daily practice. But we're going to meet up with it in one way or another. Even if you don't go looking for AI applications yourself, it becomes part of the work that you are doing, because there are different paths to meeting generative AI applications. There's the part where you can look at the work of people who are pioneering in it among educational media makers. You have teachers experimenting with the models I showed before and trying out new things as they come along. But also people as support staff experimenting and showing what they are doing online. In addition, there are, on the other hand of the spectrum, the established platforms that are gradually incorporating generative AI features. And this is what I refer to when saying, yeah, even if you don't go looking for it, it comes for you in a way, because they are slowly starting to embrace generative AI features. And often they look at the players in the middle here on the slide, the new players, and what they are doing, because they kind of form a bridge. They try to bring what used to be experimental workflows with AI models, bring them to market, and make them more accessible for usage, so that even if you don't have profound prompting skills, you're still able to benefit from generative AI capabilities. And so that's what this second section is about, where we wanted to show you a couple of examples from each category. So first, let's look at the pioneers' work. It really involves looking at how these models are used today in education already by people who are stepping to the front and already doing some experimental work. We're talking about education, so some of this knowledge also ends up in books. A book I discovered preparing for this presentation was using generative AI effectively in higher education. And what I like about it is that it not only considers the individual level and what competences we need to appropriately apply generative AI, but also looks at the organizational level. What strategies can organizations apply to ensure a smooth and also an ethical implementation of generative AI in education? And aside from that, they also give some examples on work of teachers, of educational media makers who have experimented with it. So these are presented as cases of examples of using generative AI in curriculum design, but also for assessing students' work and how they have applied it. Of course, the principles outlined in the book, I think those are things that continue to stand. But examples, they risk getting out of date soon. So it's nice to complement this kind of work with looking at aggregator sites, which kind of give you an idea of what new tools, what kind of new tools are popping up. And there's plenty of them out there. When I looked, I saw actually more than 10 aggregator sites. Markus recommended some to me, where you can have a look at what's out there. A site like There's an AI for That is interesting because it kind of starts from use cases rather than abstract categories of tools. So you can look, what am I wanting to use something for, and then search accordingly. You have AI educator tools, which kind of focuses on tools for education. And if you start looking at those sites and you get overwhelmed by just the sheer amount of them, there's also newsletters, and this one was something that Markus recommended. It's a newsletter specifically focused on higher education. And it's in German, but luckily with the AI capabilities that are available in most browsers, that's not really an issue here. I looked at it in Firefox and was able to translate it in English, but it kind of gives you these newsletters are an interesting approach, because it kind of filters already a part of what's out there for you, and also comments and contextualizes these tools and the limitations of them. And what was also nice, if you're not already part of a community, to join communities of using AI in education, like this one, where they give you an overview of their own practice, point you towards events or resources that you might not be able to discover by yourself. But in a way, I think most of us here today are also pushing the boundary, and we don't have to look far for the pioneers. We have to do this ourselves because it changes so rapidly. And we wanted to show some examples of our own practice, starting with the one by Markus and the particular use case of Suno.
So I share again my screen. Oh, this is the last example. Yes, we talked a lot about Suno.com. Suno.com is a text-to-video creator, and it is on the market about a year or so. I don't know exactly. And it was groundbreaking what you could do with Suno, because Suno always produces really good arranged songs. And by the way, did we tell you that this song you heard at the beginning of the presentation was created by Suno? I can play it, that we can remember. one mind-blowing possibility of Suno is this song was created by a little bit silly humming of mine, yeah? And you can hum a little bit, and then you can upload it, and Suno makes a song. And I loaded this one up. Yeah, you hear just silly humming, and then comes out. It blew me away. I did this with another humming, just as an example. As silly as the other one. And then came out, in this case, an alternative metal song. So, and it takes up the melody and puts in, it interweaves the original, even if you look at a really arranged song, and then comes the original again. Okay, very playful examples, but maybe you have typical use cases. I'm a filmmaker guy, and sometimes I have films I have to give some moods with music. For example, I had a film about assembly line workers in an automobile factory. And if we look at this example, I got the use case. Give me some mood for a scenery in an automobile factory with workers at the assembly line. And here you hear almost the assembly line. Maybe I could find such a music on an audio platform, but this may takes me an hour or so till I find one. And so I got this one in 2 minutes. That's the thing. And the advantage of Suno songs is if you're producing songs with Suno, you are, at the moment, I don't know how it evolves from the juristical viewpoint, you have the copyright. Yeah, and this is especially interesting if you're producing OER media. If you're producing OER media, you can't use music from normal audio databases because you don't have the license to share. But if you have the ownership of the music, you can share it like you want. Yeah? And that's a big advantage of such Suno songs. Okay, I could tell you much more, but I think regarding the time, we have to move on.
Okay. I'm sharing the screen again. I wanted to add to this example with a completely different one, focusing on co-creation. When we engage students in media production, what I've done in the past is facilitated also participatory design sessions with students, so that students who are involved in digital experience design, we start co-creating new concepts for digital applications. And I try to encourage them then to really keep the target audience for their application in mind. And as we started working on projects on generative AI, I felt like this was an opportunity to see how can we maybe assist students in these co-creation sessions using ChatGPT. And so what I did for a particular session was I used a prompt framework called Chai-BT. Has nothing to do with the delightful spiced winter tea that might already be good for this occasions. But it's a framework that supports collaborative human AI design thinking. So it takes design thinking activities and incorporates that in the dialogue with ChatGPT. Normally, it kind of you insert a prompt and ChatGPT delivers, but I didn't want that for the students. I want them to engage and reflect themselves as well. So I gave it a little bit of a twist, but to show that, I best show it in action so that you can see how it works. So I already imported the super prompt, let's say. It kind of sets the scene and how ChatGPT is supposed to act. It gets a role. It's an expert in concept development, and it knows it's gonna participate in a particular activity together with the students. So also it's explained that it's gonna engage in a particular design thinking activity. In this case, it's kind of geared towards creating a future scenario. So how will the digital application that the students have in mind will be used? How will it be used by a future user? And so we describe the activity in more detail, what it is about. ChatGPT also gets an example of where you want to land. You want to end up with a particular scenario, and you kind of explain the steps that needs to be taken, and that it kind of has to follow a particular flow. Like I said in the beginning, I don't want ChatGPT to hand it out on a silver plate to the students. We've did small tests before where it was more like that kind of a setting, and students really just copy pasted everything. But now ChatGPT is instructed to ask for input first. And the first step that we have to input is the idea and the user perspective that the scenario is starting from. So it assumes you already have some kind of an idea and a particular type of user in mind. Hopefully this works. Yeah, so here it already asks me some of the input. So I'm going to copy the idea. I already prepared this. We're thinking about a particular application. And here you see it's not completely perfect because it already wants to go to the first step, and I haven't suggested the type of user yet, but that's no problem. I'll correct it and engage in it. And you see it's kind of going into a dialogue now, right? So the first step in this whole design thinking activity is to think of, if we want to write a future scenario, what kind of phases, like on a user journey, will Sophie, our user, go through? And it makes a few suggestions, but also prompts you to go on and add them yourself and correct them, so that it becomes like an entire flow. Given that it's generative AI, there's still some unpredictability to it. And so when I do these sessions, I always ask to facilitate as well. So we have me as a facilitator, and then ChatGPT as a participant in the session. I hope this was clear, because usually I first take half an hour to explain this kind of activity. But if you have questions, feel free to pop them in. The trick is really to steer ChatGPT as much as possible. And here it kind of obstructed me again, to wait for input from the students. During the session, it mostly worked. Here again, I see that it kind of wants to hop in. So that's the challenge that I've found with these kind of exercises. It really opens up blind spots for the users, which is the benefit, but it wants to provide so much input and be really of assistance that it kind of sometimes doesn't give enough space anymore to the students to add into it. Okay, so let's go on with the presentation. Showed a little bit of where the pioneering work is. Now I wanted to jump with you to the other part of the spectrum, how established actors are embracing generative AI. And of course you can't not mention this one. Microsoft has been already very invested in OpenAI, and they have in their own suite started incorporating Gen AI features over time. Copilot for 365 has the approach of having a Gen AI assistant in each of the applications that are part of it, the regular suite. So that, for instance, in Word, you can summarize text and draft it. You can, in Teams, create highlights for meetings. When you search online in Edge, you can use a generative AI search engine where it kind of refers back to the sources that were used to come up with an answer for you. And in mails, it can summarize and draft mails and so on. For instance, here in PowerPoint, it kind of shows you its capabilities by already offering suggestions on what you can do with the presentation. Start from scratch and draft something on based on a particular Word document, but also summarize existing PowerPoints and highlight elements of the PowerPoint that you are looking for. There's a clear promise, but also when you start using Copilot, or at least the edition that I'm experimenting with, you see the promise and reality of it do not always match. I really had hoped with Excel, for instance, that my dealings with using Excel would be much easier, having now natural language to query documents and modify them. But for that point, it often tells me it's not capable yet of doing what I'm asking. So there you see that mismatch a little bit. And in Word, I discovered when I wanted to generate an image straight in the document itself, that clearly I still had to go to other platforms to have that done. It tried to accommodate me with this cat silhouette, but wasn't really what I was looking for. But that's what you often hear when we talk with people using these type of tools. That's still a little bit scattered, and often we have to combine different applications to get to a satisfactory result, rather than being able to do it as you work. Another example comes from Google, a notebook LM, and it can be used to create personalized podcasts. So it can take different kind of sources that you put into it. So it could be reports or even also lesson plans, and can convert these documents into engaging audio summaries. And Markus will be sharing some of his example using Notebook LM.
Forgot to open my mic. Sometimes your scientific information you want to give to your audience is very abstract, and maybe you want to have it in a colloquial, informal way, so that the people who aren't expert in your field can follow your thoughts and so on. And for this use case, Google LM is perfect. Here I got, for example, a research paper from a soil science project, and the title of the paper is "A New Approach for Investigating Iron Mineral Transformations in Soils and Sediments Using 57 Iron-Labeled Minerals and 57 Iron Mössbauer Spectroscopy." And none of you maybe are working in soil science and you don't have a clue what it is about. But if you put this PDF just in Google Notebook LM, you got this podcast immediately without doing anything else.
Ever wonder what's happening right under your feet, like really happening?
It's a whole other world down there.
Today we're going deep, literally, into the fascinating world of iron in soil. And trust me, it's way more dynamic than it sounds.
Oh, absolutely. We think of soil as, I don't know, kind of just dirt, right? But it's anything but static, especially when you look at it up close, microscopically.
We're diving into some really cool research today, a paper with a title that's a mouthful, I'll admit. A new approach for investigating iron mineral transformations in soils and sediments, using 57 Fe labeled minerals and 57 Fe Mössbauer spectroscopy.
Catchy.
Right. Don't worry, we'll unpack it all. But the gist is these scientists found this clever way to track how iron changes, transforms, right there in the soil.
And these findings, they could change the way we think about everything from how we grow food.
And so it goes. Here you see 8 minutes in a hole. And of course, all this bling blang at the beginning of the podcast doesn't stand in the research paper. And they do a really nice job to bring this abstract information to the people. It has some limitations. When you hear such a podcast for the first time, I was blown away. Yeah, but if you hear 5 or 6 of these podcasts, you will realize that it's always the same voices, the same way to talk, the same phrases, and so on and so on. And it's only in English. Yeah, you can't use other languages, but I think it's a matter of months that we can use it in other languages. You can use it today already with another language. It's not officially supported, but there's a little life hack for Google Notebook LM. And this is if you want to make a new podcast, I bring in the same research paper like before. And now, since 2 weeks or so, you have the possibility to use this button. And then you can put in kind of a prompt. Yeah, you can tell Google Notebook LM focus on this or that topic or so. Or you can bring in this one I prepared. The podcast will be published for a German audience. Please talk in German. And suddenly they talk German. That's interesting. Sometimes it is so obvious. And this would take maybe 5 to 7 minutes. I prepared it already. And here we have the same podcast or the podcast with the same paper in German.
Herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen Deep Dive. Heute tauchen wir ein in die Welt der Eisenminerale im Boden und wie sie sich in sauerstoffarmen Umgebungen verändern. Ihr habt uns da eine Publikation geschickt von Lutini et al.
Yeah, there are also some limitations. If we would listen to the whole podcast, maybe in the middle of the podcast, we would realize that the voices are changing a little bit, and so it's not perfect. And that's I think that's why it is not officially supported now, but it's the first step into the other languages. Yeah, back to Lizzy.
Okay. Here we go. Was the German good, by the way, Markus? Because I cannot tell. Was it a good translation? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Is this you on mute, Markus?
Sorry. Sometimes they have a little bit of an accent, but mostly it's clear, good, understandable German. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, a completely different example again, but also worthwhile mentioning is Canva one. Canva has been around, of course, and used often for communication purposes. But it's impressive how they've evolved also in offering generative AI functionalities. Started with smart resizing, where you can say, okay, I have, for instance, a picture for LinkedIn, and I now need something that has the appropriate dimensions for an Eventbrite, that it allows you to automatically switch proportions, and then also ensures that the content is still appropriately in view, that the part that you want to show is not cut off. But it's evolved to also being able to switch to completely different content types, and offers now a lot of capabilities in terms of generating images and editing images, that you can remove certain undesirable objects, change, remove the background and change it into something else, and also use generative text features. Similarly, Adobe has been working on implementing functionalities, and referring to this with Firefly suite. Yeah, it continues to build on that in different type of products, going from Photoshop to Adobe Premiere. Features that they announced are the ability to fill in gaps, so that you can extend certain fragments when part of the movie was too short for what you wanted. The ability to also here add on objects and remove them, and create specific visual effects. Specific to Adobe is that they work very hard on fair use, and that it's ensured that once you use AI, that's also credited. So they include those that as well. What we wanted to show you were a couple of other features in Adobe Premiere that are already available today to optimize your workflow. And I'll give the word to Markus again.
Oh no, my mic is open. Yeah. Yes, Adobe implemented since, I don't know, 5 years now, several options with AI tools or AI possibilities, and I show a few of them. One thing is really interesting. Sometimes you have 3-hour-long videos or so. You have interviews and you have to make a transcript and then make a short video out of this 3-hour interview, about 10 minutes or so. And imagine your editing guy don't have the time and don't have a clue what are the important parts of this video, of this interview. Then you can now give this video interview insights, the Premiere project, to a person who has no experience with video editing, and he or she could do the rough cut. Yeah, this use case. How is this possible? Now, here we have an interview clip, not 3 hours, but a little bit shorter. And in Premiere, it's now, or for 1.5 years or so, natively possible to make a transcript. I did this already because it took a few minutes or so to have this transcript. And it's just open a window, the text window, and push the button, please make a transcript. Yeah, that's and not very interesting. Then you have the transcript. And now what's very interesting is the expert without editing knowledge can go through the transcript and can do a thing we call text-based editing. Yeah, you can see, okay, this, maybe this, it's in German, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, this sentence is interesting. Now I do Control C, put it in the what's the English name of the Zwischenablage? I forgot the doesn't matter. Yeah. Control C, and then go to the timeline where the editing project is, and Control V, and then it puts these 2 sentences here in the timeline as a video clip. And then you can go through the script. Okay, maybe this sentence, Control C, Control V, and so on. You can imagine, yeah. And this is a real time saver, yeah. Number 1, the automatic transcript. Yeah, you need hours and hours of assistance to transcribe it. And then you need the editing guy, or you have the expert who marks in a Word document or so, and then goes to the editing guy. And so that's easy for every expert. And it's a huge workflow optimization. Another thing which is a workflow optimization, maybe this is already inside Premiere for a few years. It's audio remix feature. Here we have the case, I have a little film, it's 1 minute long, and I have a music file. Oh yeah, good music, but it's way too long. And I want to end the music piece at the end of the film. Yeah, this was possible before. Yeah, I can go to certain parts, cut it, and it would take me half an hour or so to optimize this so that the film ends. And with the new possibilities of AI, I can mark this and say remix. Yeah, activate remix. Now I don't know if you see this here. Here is an audio panel in Premiere, and I told Premiere, please make this song 1 minute long. And as you see here, it's now 1 minute long. I think it fits very well. And here at these lines are the cutting points. Yeah, and Premiere automatically cuts at points where you don't hear anything. Let's listen.
Ist Learning Design für die Bildung an Schulen und Hochschulen. Neue Konzepte. Kleine.
Yeah, we don't hear anything, and we have this song shortened, and it fits perfectly at the end. Another possibility. Other thing, you know this guy already. He's sitting here. And I recorded the audio with a lavalier microphone, in a professional way. But I also recorded with the internal camera microphone, and it was 3 meters away, and it was very windy. And what would happen if I would have forgot to plug in the lavalier microphone? I only would have the internal microphone. This would sound like this.
And then the iron oxide minerals dissolve or transform to other minerals, including iron carbonates, iron phosphates.
And it was it was impossible to use this sound, yeah, to filter out wind, yeah, and to have such a voice, yeah.
And therefore they have very large surface.
You hear only wind, and now we have this possibility in the essential sound panel. And you can just push this button, yeah, audio optimization, boom, and let's listen.
Tiny particles, usually about 10,000 times smaller than a Z grain. And therefore they have very large surface areas
Without.
which can bind other elements, including environmental contaminants, like heavy metals, nutrients like phosphate, and also carbon.
And this is, in my mind, mind-blowing, yeah. So you can use really such crappy recordings. This is not to say that you should make crappy recordings now. The best is, of course, if you have a good recording like this.
In our project, we're interested in understanding better how these iron minerals...
This is even better, but now you can save something, yeah. But I have to keep an eye on the time. Back to Lizzy.
Okay. Thank you, Markus, for sharing this one. I wanted to conclude this part on the established actors embracing generative AI with an example from educational publishing, where you see how publishers themselves are also offering within their learning platforms Gen AI capabilities. The example you see here is by ACO, and they're a Dutch publisher. And in their e-learning platform, they now allow students to make a summary of ebooks that were purchased. And you can make summaries in a set of languages. The main Belgian language is French, Dutch, but also English, and allow it to be made in different formats to your liking, continuing text or bullets, and also give some prompts to contextualize, because the difficulty with summaries is when you want a summary, yeah, often there's something that we find important and that we want to highlight. Through the prompt capability that's available, you can point out, this is an important concept for me. I want this to be highlighted in the summary. Given that it's all within the platform, they see it also as a way to keep and protect copyright. And since that it's geared towards students, there's also a possibility to practice with the material. So it will generate multiple choice questions It's geared towards students, but you can see also ways in which this could be valuable for the teachers themselves using these books. For instance, when you're preparing a class. Then the final way in which it reaches you is through new players, and the subtag is here laying the groundwork. Often these players are presenting something quite experimental, and the tools are not perfect yet, but it's good to keep an eye on them because they kind of give you a glimpse of the future. Often these players are then incorporated within established companies, taken over, or at least the features inspire them. And we get straight to another example by Markus, which will show you some of the capabilities of MakerSuite and creating, curating content there and scripting, creating video scripting.
So MakerSuite is a totally new way of workflow when producing videos. Imagine you want to produce a learning video about the cognitive theory of multimedia learning of Richard Meyer. And then maybe for inspiration, you check a little bit out what's on the scene already, which videos are there already, which publications, and so on and so on. And for this use case, MakerSuite helps a lot. Here we have the user interface of MakerSuite. It's an online service. Yeah, it's called MakerSuite, M-A-E-K-E-R, Maker, not Maker, like you would think in English, MakerSuite.com. And if you log in to MakerSuite, you have this, and you can search a topic. Yeah, let's say I put in already this lasts a few minutes. That's why I prepared it already. I put in cognitive theory of multimedia learning, Richard Meyer. That's it. Yeah, that was the whole prompt. And then it produces this. First, it's a little called research overview, and MakerSuite found 95 videos recommended by YouTube by keyword search. 90 channels and views are all also counted. MakerSuite comes out of the marketing corner. That's why they are very into clicks, and so that's maybe not so important for the educational field, but maybe also interesting. Yeah, here you have ideas. Since in a second step, MakerSuite suggests you how you could call your video. Yeah, these are proposals for video titles, and in the next step, MakerSuite would also prepare a script for you. But in the first phase, you can go in the research field, and then MakerSuite produces this one. And in this chart, you have here a so-called quality score on the x-axis, and it's measured by the number of clicks. Yeah, as I told you, marketing, number of clicks is quality. No, yeah. And on the y-axis, you have how relevant is this video for your inputted prompt. Yeah, I don't know the algorithms behind this, but it's assumed that the videos or the group of videos in this area are most relevant for you. And let's take this one. This brown dot, if we scroll down, here we have this brown dot of this chart over there. And we can dive in to this one. And here he found 15 videos on this topic and 14 in 14 channels. And now here you can go through all these found videos. And if we choose this one, for example, here published 2017, 5 minutes 24 subscribers, views, and so on. And we can dive a little bit deeper, a short description, details about the channel. You have the whole transcript already, and you can go through this video very fast. Yeah? Or you can just watch it if you view more information. Yeah, you can just watch it here. And this is the performance chart of this video. You can also watch here where are the places the most people watch, or where are they dropping out, for example. And so you can dive deeper and deeper in every video. And you have very fast a good overview which kind of videos are out there, how successful are they, what kind of topics do they address, and in which channels, and so on. I could talk an hour about this, but you get an idea what Makers we does, and this is a total new approach, not the typical generative AI tool, but analytics and research tool. At the first step and in the second step, it also produces ideas here for videos. And if I would create a project, I could choose, I want a film 4 to 10 minutes with this project title, with this project goal, target audience, little bit of context, and just say generate outline, and then Maker Suite makes an outline of the video, and in the second stage then a whole transcript like ChatGPT. But it's a whole suite of tools for research, curating, and producing video concepts.
And that makes a nice link to these type of tools, text-to-video tools, because once you have the script, these type of tools allow you to start from that script and generate a video. And some of you may have already used text-to-video tools years ago. They've been around for quite a while, where they already use analytical capabilities of AI and then used the analysis of the text to look for images in a stock database, and then you link those stock database images to a flow, so that you would have a video that's kind of pimped up PowerPoint slide where images alternate and there's a narration and so on. But these text-to-video tools, they've also evolved, and generative AI kind of has breathed new life into them, allowing people to also generate images instead of relying on stock footage, as you can see here in the Flicky video.
Flicky text-to-video. Log in or sign up at flicky.ai. Select files option.
Sorry, don't know why it.
From the top panel, click on New File button. Select the language and dialect. Next, write the file's name. Select your desired aspect ratio and under Start with Select Idea. Finally, hit Submit. In the idea box, write your idea and select the length of the video. Next, you can choose whether you want premium stock media or unique AI art images for each scene. Let's continue with AI art. You can pick from styles like 3D model, digital art,
you can
low poly,
pick the style
photographic,
that you want your video
For
to
now,
look
let's
like.
select the cinematic style. Besides, you have the option to add AI avatars, sound effects, headings, and stickers to your video. Finally, hit submit. Flicky will create the video based on your idea. Flicky text to
So there you kind of saw at the end the flow in which generates it, kind of cuts your text into text snippets, and adds appropriate images to it, or you could change them through generative AI. In a way, this all looks quite promising, but yeah, these tools give the expectation that you can almost with a few clicks or even one click create a video, but it's kind of stretching in the truth a little bit, and Markus will show you also what that means.
Yeah, we have quite some limitations in this. These tools are laying the ground basics, but what if you want to produce a learning film about the concept of scaffolding in higher education, for example? This is an abstract concept, and I did the test and had this prompt: create an explainer film on the practical application of Chilli-Salmon scaffolding model in higher education teaching. Your target group is young university lecturers who already have some experience in university teaching. The film shall last 3 minutes. First, the model shall be introduced, then every stage of the 5-stage model shall be presented. After that, the challenges and possible solution in practical teaching for the 5-step model shall be demonstrated. The film should convey the content in an informative tone. The sentences should be kept as simple as possible so that more complex ideas can also be easily understood. Sounds good. And now we go to InVideo. InVideo is such a text to video service, and out came this.
Hello, I'm here today to dive into an exciting educational framework that can transform the way you teach. It's called the scaffolding model, developed by Chilli-Salmon, and it's particularly effective in higher education. So, let's break it down, shall we? First off, what is scaffolding? In education, scaffolding refers to a method that helps students move progressively towards stronger understanding and, ultimately, greater independence in the learning.
So, higher education, did we say higher education? Okay, you see, text somehow conveys the thing what's about scaffolding, but totally randomly thrown in pictures that has nothing to do with the scaffolding in higher education. Yeah, you can't use this really to make whole videos. If you have a video about yeah, more simple things. The other example we saw, it was some recipe about chips or so. Maybe this works, yeah. But if you have such abstract concepts about scaffolding in higher education, it doesn't work at all. That's a good news for us all, yeah. The world needs us, yeah, still.
Yeah.
And this is the. Pardon?
Yeah, it's true. We still need to do the work.
Yeah, and that's one thing, to have a prompt and the text to video shall produce a whole video. There's another way of looking on it, and that's this. If you, let's say, you have a presentation or a learning film and you need a special footage clip. Yeah, a group of 6 students is discussing in a classroom. They are sitting around a big round table in the foreground of in the frame. In the background, the lecturer is supervising the discussion. He is not talking to the students. The classroom is a modern style room with big windows and an interactive whiteboard on the wall. Yeah, just to visualize the situation, here we are in Luma Labs Dream Machine. Okay, yeah, the lecturer shouldn't talk to the students. Yeah, doesn't understand what I want. and it's not very conveying in my eyes. Maybe the second try is better. Then suddenly we have Chinese, yeah. In the first try, these were more Indian guys. Here is a Chinese lecturer, a little bit in the corner. I don't know why is he so standing so shy in the corner. Yeah, I wouldn't use these things, and it's not that perfect now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there are possibilities to create fascinating videos with generative AI, but still it would be a matter of creating frames very meticulously, and then also making sure like that the consistency is there, that you indeed don't have all of a sudden different actors in view. We wanted to conclude with a few examples, specifically in education again, but to show you the variety. Here is an example of how chatbots have evolved in evolution of generative AI, being able to provide a more contextualized and personal answer. And Unibuddy is an example of that. It kind of offers a contextualized approach where a chatbot answers questions that are available on your institution's website.
In a world where students demand answers and your teams are stretched than ever before, we present a game changer. Meet the Assistant from Unibuddy, your 24/7 sidekick designed to draw students in and engage them on your most powerful digital conversion tool, your website. Unibuddy's Assistant knows your institution inside out, delivering instant, tailored support to curious minds. Students benefit from getting simple fact-based questions quickly and thoroughly, and for more nuanced or subjective ones, are connected immediately to the right human who can help. Say bye-bye to clunky websites and hello to a smoother student experience. Visitors become heroes, focusing on student whether expertise is needed and valued, rather than being bogged down by answering repetitive, basic questions.
So it kind of also emphasizes keeping the human in the loop, as it's sometimes said, where those questions that are more of a repetitive nature, questions that are about factual information, are answered by the chatbot, and that it also directs students to their peers or to support workers if needed. I'll skip the breakout if that's okay, Marcus, because we're almost at the end of our time.
Yes.
The last example that I wanted to show you was Sparkwise. It uses AI and generative AI to facilitate live group learning. Basically, you can set up an online module with the system where groups enter, and they are guided through by the system. So there's no human facilitator there. To deal with topics, converse on questions, and also solve problems together. They, at the end of each discussion, are also offered suggestions on how to collaborate as a group, for instance. And the system also allows people who are setting up such a e-learning program to use a smart builder where you use generative AI to already create a first draft of your program and the different models that will be part of it. On the slide, you can see an example where I tested it and asked it to create a module for a program on educational media production through generative AI. And while it wouldn't be exactly as I would envision it, it does provide inspiring suggestions, so that it kind of invites me to revisit how I would set up the program. So just to finalize, we wanted to kind of finish up with a framework, so that as you go and step away from the presentation back to your own practice, and are again looking for tools that can help you, that you have some framework to help you on that search, so that you can find the right tools and establish a meaningful workflow. We showed you a lot of tools. We certainly don't think that each one is the best for you. I think that's very context dependent, but as you search, it would be good, and we want to invite you to think about what kind of questions you're asking as you are looking for generative AI tools, because there's different ways of expressing your need. You might look at it as a way to unburden you and take over the tasks that you don't want to do, because they're repetitive or not core to your everyday job. Or you might look at it as a way of elevating your own work, that you feel like these are areas where you can use support in, and there are tools that kind of act more as an assistant to elevate your work. But you could also start looking at how generative AI may transform your work. And then it becomes a question of knowing now that what generative AI is capable of, how might it invite us to address tasks differently, or even completely work in a different way as the way that we worked before. And some of the examples that Markus and I showed you can be seen as fitting in each of these categories. You had the Canva magic resize feature, which takes the work of manually reformatting images out of your hands. We had a tool like Microsoft Copilot, which assists you in optimizing your texts, for instance. So that's kind of a part of the adaptation category. For modification, like addressing tasks in a different way, you can see how the text-based video editing feature in Adobe Premiere kind of changes the way you work and allows you to do it in a much more intuitive way. And then finally, with redefinition, you have examples like the podcast based on your learning resources in Notebook LM, Sparkwise platform, or the Maker Suite, will allow you to approach things different from what was possible before. So when you go looking at it, become aware of what are you needing right now, and how might generative AI change your work in the future. So I'll finish here. I hope we made it just on time, Novi.
Thank you very much. Lizzy, if you don't mind, I see Tom had one question. Maybe we could take it before we wrap up. It was about whether ChatGPT was a way to get a good prompt or something else.
Yes, so ChatGPT kind of, it's indeed a framework. It kind of gives you building blocks for how to set up a prompt for ChatGPT to help you in engaging in a particular design activity. So for instance, creating a future scenario is one activity, but the building blocks they make an abstraction of the type of activity that you want, and you can fill it in accordingly. I also changed it a little bit because the way it's set up, ChatGPT just provides you the whole output right away, and sometimes that's exactly what you want. But sometimes it's different, and you want to bring in some input yourself and kind of have ChatGPT more as a sparring partner. So if you're interested in the prompts, I can share them afterwards with you.